Welcome back, everyone. Thanks a lot for coming back. I appreciate you watching the videos, and I hope you enjoy them. So today isn't so much of a details video, but in my recent trip to Hiawatha Hobbies, my local hobby shop here in southern Wisconsin, if you have an opportunity, you can go check them out. They are online. They do have some pretty good deals. And I gotta say, for a local hobby shop, they've got a ton of stock of pretty much everything, including something that I've been struggling to find since I missed out on the pre-order. Don't get me started on the pre-orders. I'm not thrilled about having to pre-order things, although I did pre-order the Scale Trains SDL39. I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity to get a unique Wisconsin Central model there. But that aside, I've been wanting one of these. I really wanted this Rapido B36-7 in BC Rail. I love that paint scheme, and I really wanted one. I was thinking about that, or maybe a CSX unit. They had this Santa Fe unit. I don't have any Santa Fe on the layout. The beauty of Wisconsin Central is they had a ton of run-through power, and you think, Santa Fe, really? You know, anything that came into Chicago, they had the opportunity to pick up, and it might have come north with their trains. It didn't happen often, but you'd be amazed at how many times I've looked at a model for sale, thought, I don't know if I could justify that or not. A little bit of research, I'll find a unit similar to it running with a Wisconsin Central train. I found the same with this one. It's on the border of not being my era. I kind of am mid-90s, mid to late 90s. These started to fade out in regular use early 90s, so I'm stretching it a little. When I can bring myself to, I'm going to have to weather the heck out of this, because when it would have been run through on Wisconsin Central trains, it would have been nearing the end of its life. It was beat up and battered. I looked up some pictures online, and they were in rough shape towards the end. But I am thrilled to get a hold of one of these. I love Rapido units. I only have one, unfortunately, but the others that I've seen running, the others I've seen, they're just amazing. The detail's amazing. So today is all about this guy. You're getting it out of the box, running it, and see how well it runs, and see how it is. All right, so this is 2 videos in a row of unboxing, but sorry about that. It's what I've got to shoot at the moment, so that's what we're going to do. Beautiful box. So as you can see here, Hiawatha Hobbies, kind of a steep price tag for this guy. It is the sound version. And one of the reasons I went with the sound version on this is because it's a GE unit, and as much as I love the sound of a good EMD prime mover, there is something about a good GE. I think we all know that if you like the GEs, it's that warble that they have. So I'm looking forward to hearing this one and all the other features that go with it. So one of the neat things, and I read about this and saw this online, was they actually include kind of a little bit more of a booklet, almost similar, I think, and I'd have to look this up, but stylized after the original GE manual. And I did read through this, and if nothing else, you have to take the time to read Rapido's manuals, simply because they build so much humor into their stuff, and just, I mean, even in this opening paragraph of why is this your first Rapido locomotive? No, seriously, we've been around now for almost 15 years. And I will say to Rapido, it's because of your limited edition and limited run that, for instance, I only have 2. I would buy many more, but anyway, that's getting off track. I don't want to get off track. So anyway, and then just a flyer for that. So your typical clamshell packaging as usual. I have to laugh, not laugh, but for anybody that's been in the hobby for as long as I have, since the early 80s and even before that, a Thurn blue box locomotives used to come in their standard blue box, and one of the very first locomotives I ever got from them, or diesel units, was actually this chassis system U30B unit, and obviously it's long since lost its frame warped. I never applied the handrails on it, but this was my pride and joy. I loved this unit. I one of the very first that I got as a kid, and I've been trying to figure out a way to restore it and just have it on the layout again. But when I got this unit, it was sitting in the box, and it had two twist ties that came around the frame and the body and held it in the box. That was it. That was the packaging and the safety measures for keeping this unit safe. Now, obviously, if we compare these two, the level of detail is quite different, but you can kind of tell, where things have come. Two different units, but still two GE B units. So again, this is why I think I have an affinity to GE B units, is because of this guy. So I'd love to call this a retro unboxing, but I found that I still have the original box that my like I said, my original U30B, my chassis system U30B. This is actually why my username is what it is because of this engine. Yeah, my dad bought this for me when my original Santa Fe F unit that I got in a Bachmann toy train set died. The frame warped and no longer worked. So we went to, I think it was Happy Hobby, or I don't even remember. But it was between this and a Canadian Pacific F unit. And for whatever reason, I picked the chassis system, and that started my lifelong love of chassis system. Now, why don't I model it nowadays? Well, just because Wisconsin Central speaks to me. I got to rail fan it as I grew up as a teenager and into my 20s. But anyway, this is the first unit. This is the box it came in. So first of all, if we take a look, the new Rapido that I just got, $200 and some. This unit, probably back in the middle 80s. At Garmin's, that's right, it was Garmin's in West Allis, Wisconsin. $16.54. A U30B powered, because at that time they would sell dummy units, which were the same exact ones with no motor, so you could consist them together and have multiple units without actually running multiple trains. So if you were lucky, sometimes the unit would have this piece of thin foam over the top of it, but this was the entire cradle that the unit came in, and it would just be in here and twist tied in place. And this was the packaging for the time. This is what $16.54 got you. It was quite the package. Actually, I still have everything else that goes with it. I think, you used to get a little package like this, a little envelope, and this would contain the stanchions to put the handrails on and whatnot, and then have the bell. It used to have a bell and the horn and all that good stuff. So yeah, that was this guy, and this is the packaging it came in. So we've come quite a ways since those days of a Thurn blue box engines for $16. So one thing right off the bat I noticed, and I had to look this up, they have these, I'm going to assume, and I have to look this up, is that these are here as to bring cool air in, kind of before tunnel motors became a thing. GE didn't really have tunnel motors, but to draw cooler air in tunnels out west, they put these wind deflectors or air deflectors on, and I'm assuming that's what these are for. I have to look into it a little bit. Now here's the downside, is that for the era, when I did some research on this unit, in the picture that I found of this particular unit in '95, these are gone. Actually, on Railroad Picture Archives, there's only a couple of pictures, and they're right after it was built were these still present. I think that they were maintenance problems. At least I know on the GP40 that Southern Pacific put these on. They were a maintenance issue. I believe that they had trouble getting into the areas, the bays behind these. So the guys who worked on them didn't care for them. And I don't know that they worked all that well either, but don't quote me on either of those. That's just hearsay. The level of detail is simply amazing on this unit. I mean, you just look at all of the apparatus on the top here. I'm assuming that's an air conditioning unit, firecracker antenna for remote unit, communication, the beacon, which I believe is functioning. We'll have to test that out. Beautiful horn, and just very accentuated sticking off the top. Sunshades, and just wipers. Just wow. I mean, just the amount of detail. A couple of lift levers here. Chain. Does it? It's molded in place. Grab irons. You know, just crisp. Everything's well. MU cables, air hoses, just everything. And then it probably doesn't show up on film, but there's a control stand and everything inside. Coming around to the back side, same thing. You got a step to get across, the drop down step, everything there. Looking at the picture, I've got it up. So interestingly though, at some point, and now here's another thing that I may have to consider, is on the picture that I'm looking at from 95, the horn is actually in the back here. I know some railroads started moving them back because they would deafen the crew inside the cab, so they'd move them towards the back. I don't know if I'll relocate that one or not. We'll see how much I'm going to take a knife to this thing and modify it. I really am not thrilled about that idea, but even the underbody. All right, so I started shooting this a day or so ago, and unfortunately the battery on my camera died, and so now I'm picking up where I left off. Well, I think I am, so I apologize if there's some overlap here. Hopefully in editing I've corrected all of the issues. So here we go. Here's the unit in the yard, ready to fire up, and so by default function 8 will do the startup sequence. And then function 8 will obviously do a shutdown sequence. Good. So the other features of it, of course, you have your headlight. So you can see that coming on and off there. And if I go to, let's see if I can remember all of these now. Class lights. Let me back it up here a little bit so you can see the class lights a little bit better. Without sound on it, it's an amazingly quiet unit too, which is amazing. So if you don't run it with the sound on, or you have the non-sound equipped version, it sounds really nice. But there you can see the class lights come on and off. And then one of my favorite features, I love how they've simulated the beacon atop with, I'm assuming there's probably 3 tiny little LEDs that they shoved up into that dome and flash them in sequence, and there you go, you got a rotary beacon, which is just awesome. The unit has a backup, or a tail light, if you will, or on the long hood. So just overall, amazing unit. It's got an array of different sounds, some hidden stuff that Rapido likes to put into their units, and it does have a playable spitter valve, which is pretty common. A lot of people like that on the GE units and anything with the air compressor that's got the spitter valve. It also has the, I don't know, that warble that GE units do, which is one of the reasons why I wanted sound on this guy, just for that. and to be able to hear that all the time. I don't know why, but that's just something as a rail fan I've always enjoyed hearing an idling GE do that. So I'll fire it back up here. It also has some grade crossing with the Doppler effect, and so you just hit the, I think it's 5. And it's got a, so there we go. Sorry I interrupted that, but you can hear it's kind of got the grade crossing Doppler effect going on. Plus it plays the appropriate chimes for the, or the appropriate sequence rather, for a grade crossing. So that's my impression of this Rapido B36-7, and my impression is I'm impressed. It's one heck of a unit. The detail as I hold it here is simply amazing. Just all the little things they've built into this. You know, I like super detailing models, but it is nice to get something this detailed right out of the box. It does take some of the fun out of model railroading, but at the same time, it's really impressive what you get. Now, it definitely wasn't cheap, but you are paying for the sound decoder, which, as I said, not a huge sound fan, but this one, I won't say it won me over, but it's definitely worth having it. I'm glad that I did get the sound version of this. It's just for, like I said, the GE prime mover to hear that thing warbling in there and chortling around the layout is a lot of fun. So it's just overall a lot of amazing detail and an overall amazing locomotive. Treat this thing with kit gloves, obviously. So yeah, that's the Rapido B36-7. I feel a little bad reviewing it, simply because if you really like it, and I highly recommend it, they're really hard to find. Like I said, I kind of got lucky, happened to be at Hiawatha Hobbies. They don't even have it listed on their website as being available, and that was probably because this was the only one they had. And so I got lucky, went in, they had it. I'm like, I'm getting it. But I've looked elsewhere online, and there are some websites out there that have them, and of course you can go to your eBays and stuff like that. But in some cases, you're paying almost a markup on these things to get a hold of them, and that's kind of a complaint of mine. I know that manufacturers have to do it. The logistics of bringing out a new model and all that, but you know, hearkening back to, you know, how I opened with the Athearn Blue Box, I know those are different models, and Athearn still makes their ready-to-run versions and their roundhouse versions, and Atlas has a lot of theirs available all the time. But it is a little frustrating when something like this comes out and you really want to get a hold of one of these, and you feel like you have to jump on that, you know, pre-order to have any chance at getting them. And if you're anything like me, sometimes when they're announced, you don't have the funds for it. Now, I know that usually gives you enough time to put the funds away, and then hopefully by the time it's released, then you buy it. I did that with the Scale Trains announcement. And we're not talking like a car down payment here, but this isn't pocket change either for a lot of people, and it can be a little frustrating when great models come out and you feel like you have to pre-order or you're going to miss out. And there's a few other units that I've been searching for that I've just not been able to find. I'd like a Bowser 626 just to add to the CN units that I have, and a few others, and I can't find them. So if you know of any place, please, by all means, throw a comment down there. I'm happy to see if I can get a hold of one. But so that's my review of the Rapido B36-7. Hope you enjoyed. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Consider it if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.